Hi, everybody. So I'm sitting here with Wayne on August 31st, and guys, we have been studying the bejeebers out of these phenomenon coming out of stereo A, H1, and Secchi images. And specifically, we're focused in again on the spacecraft slash disk force field. And Wayne, I think you've come up with some good science today, and I'd like to hear more about it.
Yes. Give me 1 second, Steve. I want to shut off the email. Okay.
Yeah, good idea. Yep.
So, as you know, we have stayed on this like a junkyard dog with a bone, and we're not letting go because, and Steve, allow me just to have 30 seconds here to explain to everyone, this is not a lens flare. You do not understand what you are looking at. And please stop sending us your messages, and on my channel as well, that this is a lens flare. Go and learn the science first about what you're actually looking at, and then come back and talk to us. So Steve, I just want to clear this up. This is not a lens flare.
Well, I think the first thing to point out is that this is not a visible light camera.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that that's what people are missing. And can I explain to people actually what they're seeing here? This is a camera that is using a detector used to detect high energy proton and electrons. So it registers where these protons come from. Now, these are reflected protons because the instrument is designed to put a baffle in front of the source of high energy protons and electrons, i.e. stars. We're dealing with space, folks. This is not Star Wars. This is not where you're going to get some sort of CGI and, you know, make it all fancy and pretty. We're dealing with space here. You're dealing with high energy particles. And you need to understand what high energy particles are, and then you begin to understand what we're seeing here, Steve. And I think that that's what's missing. So we have recorded this. Now, we have evidence that this ship, and I have given it the moniker the mothership. No one else seems to give it a name, so I've dubbed it the mothership. And so it's the WSO mothership, and away we go. We have, as our audience knows, a PhD, tenured professor physicist. That individual is very smart, smarter than I am, particularly where it comes into the language of mathematics. So I will be doing a show on my channel, Steve, explaining this, just what I did to your audience here. So we have made a major finding, and I'll break it out for your audience. So, Steve, we're showing this for the first time ever so that everybody can understand what's really taking place here. This is a heavy-duty arc shield. We know this because, once again, we explain the science of what is actually being picked up by this camera. The front shield generating the craft is here. When we saw what we thought, Steve, was a projectile that came out of that, we were using such terms as a torpedo or something like that. I think we may have missed something. I think it may have been another ship that was with this one. This one, anyway, is obviously putting up some sort of a shield. Now, if we go here and we take a look at this picture, again, let's blow it up, we can see a lot going on. We can get into the science of this that really begins to explain what's happening. So we believe that this is not a natural object. We believe that this is artificial, call it some other intelligence. We also seen, because what we know is happening here between the protons and the electrons that are being recorded here, we know that this is big. It has a round ship. This is obviously a shield. Now, Steve, one of the questions that we have asked ourselves, well, why is it we can't see it in any other light? Why is it that we can't see it in the starfield light? Well, actually, my friend, we can. Again, we're not trained, none of us are. And I seriously suspect most of your subscribers are not either trained professionally in how to read these photos. Yeah, we got a lot of people, smart people who understand photography. We have a lot of people who understand radio, yeah,
I get what you're saying.
yeah, you know what I'm saying. I've had it at the tip of my tongue. Anyway, we're just not trained in this. So when you and I looked at this, and by the way, I want to give credit to Jake Riley, because Jake is the one who rang my bell this morning and said, Wayne, I think it is showing. So using the technical paper, Steve, that we can get into more, because we're going to blow your audience away with what.
Before you move on, though, let me ask you the question. What is the big mistake you think that most novices or layman people are making with this imagery, Wayne?
Well, because we immediately get used to the background of the star field here. And what we're not understanding is that this star field has depth. It's 3 dimensions. And so we're not sure on the orientation. Are we seeing something close? Are we seeing something far? Is this light emanating from a very distant star? Is it emanating through the background radiation of the photons right here, the proton light of the Milky Way? So when you and I look at this, we're saying there's nothing here. But we are wrong. And I'm going to show you just how wrong we are. So you have to get used to what you're seeing here, folks. And once you start understanding, and I guess the best way I can describe it, Steve, it's like spatial orientation to space on a 3-dimensional plane. All right?
Yep.
Got me?
Yep.
Okay. Here is our shield that we're seeing in this light here.
And I've looked at this independently myself, and I will confirm that that object is in the same position and the same shape as the one we see in the.
Here's our mothership right here.
Yep.
You know why we know it's our mothership? Because it's obfuscating the light. In this spectrum, we're looking at light. We're not looking at particles.
Right. And when I look at high energy particles, guys, just to go back to that one for a second, I have another kind of question I think might be helpful too, Wayne. So when I'm looking at this one, am I looking at reflected high energy particles? So in other words, something would have to generate a high energy particle on the object, and then it reflects back to us, right?
That is correct. That is absolutely.
Yeah, and those high energy particles, follow me with this one, because I think this is an important understanding. These high energy particles have to come from somewhere first. They have to originate from either the sun or some other source.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
For us to be able to see this clear of an image on this electron, high energy electron proton detector, it would have to be picking up very high energy protons and electrons, right?
Thank you, Steve. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll let you go from there.
Okay, that's the science. So don't, people don't understand lens flare. Go and watch Chris Potter's 101 lesson on lens flares, and then come back and you can look at this with a fresh set of eyes. Listen, we got a bigger problem. Our professor says this is a real problem. And there's a reason for it. And allow me to read you this. So we're going to start using terminology for this object as mothership. We're going to use the terminology going forth is that this is ship number 2. So taking on that basis, this is how we're going to begin to proceed forward. So what we have seen here is that this seems to be a ship. It has a round shape, and it seems to be heavily shielded. The bright round circles are from the high energy to generate an additional shield away in front of the mothership. The shield seems to be increasing in size as part of it is facing the sun, is getting brighter, and the part facing the ship is getting darker. This means that there are increasing numbers of reflected protons and electrons being reflected from the front of the shield. This also means that this ship is probably planning to go through a large asteroid field or debris field containing very large objects. It is our hypothesis that this is a debris field. It's just our hypothesis. But we got bigger problems here in River City. Steve, as I have told you many times in our conversations, I'm not buying what they told us this satellite was actually designed to do. There is, and by the way, NASA, United States Military, Naval Observatory, we have some physicists that would like to talk to you because they've been doing some work. And granted, we're using information that's being parceled out to us. However, Steve, and I have to take a deep breath on this. When we use the science on this object in question, by the way, yes, we have seen this object before. We saw it, and thank you to one of the subscribers who pointed this out. We saw this back in July of 2007 when this bird first started begin to sending pictures back. And guess where our little friend was at? Our little friend was over here next to what we think was Venus. However, we watched it move, and then it got out of the field of the camera view of Secchi. So we know that this has been here. I think it's been here all along. But let's talk about this object right here, because I think this really is the question of the day. And here's our question to the military. It makes no sense putting a baffle on a camera designed to look at the star field of our solar system, both inner and outer. There is no light source here of any kind of the natural light that would obfuscate any view of any wavelength. We have our star over here, and they took the appropriate measures for that. It is our conclusion, and I will get into this more in a video later, but it is our conclusion, Steve, they are hiding this star here. They've known about this all along.
Right, and I want to take us, you know, and I'm going to actually paste in, and just so everybody knows, the next segment after we do this will be the study that Wayne and I did on watching an object of some sort that was next to Jupiter actually explode on the edge of that baffle. And I was being tongue-in-cheek about it, Wayne. I was saying, well, that's one powerful baffle to blow up an asteroid or whatever it blew up, right?
Yes, sir.
The reason I'm going to bring this out in this video is because I want to show you guys without a shadow of a doubt that whatever's at the leading edge of this quote-unquote baffle destroyed something in front of Jupiter. So it's not a visual thing. It is a object in space.
It is. And
they do not want us to report on this. They came at us with their biggest guns. They came at us with their biggest shills, and they came at us with their biggest trolls, and we're not letting go.
No, and astronomy.com, I'm calling you out.
I'm calling them out too. Calling me a liar. I mean, and our audience doesn't like this when we take the defensive position, but I want to.
No. Bring your scientists, bring your PhD physicist. Let's have a live program. You bring your physicist, we'll bring ours.
Yeah, I'll bring a physicist. I got 2-3 of them that we can pick from.
And I challenge you on this because you see, sirs, you had fun poking at us, and that's fine. I got thick skin. And listen, I think laughter is a good, healthy thing to have.
We laugh at ourselves all the time.
Yeah, we do. The problem was, Steve, it's like this. If you start pointing out something and saying, well, that's just the way it was designed to help reduce the glare, the light, you see, those are all, they just don't hold any water.
Yeah, here's what they're saying to you when they say those things, when we make an initial observation and we're learning the instrument or we're learning the, what we're doing. as we're going through that learning process, what they're saying to you is, go back to sleep. This is nothing. Don't pay attention to these guys. They're liars. They're deceivers. They have dark hearts. No, we don't. We have light hearts. We're trying to tell the truth, and we want people to, if there's an opportunity for us to take actions as a result of, positive actions as a result of seeing this, that's what we're about, guys. Now, let's go back to that debris field theory that we have. There you go, that one. So that little white line between Venus in this picture and the large shield object, we would not get a return unless there was something bouncing high energy protons and electrons off of it.
Yes, and I have an explanation here for this. It
Okay,
says there is a vertical line in front of the artificial created shield. Here's the created shield, artificial line. Okay. That seems to be either reflecting a lot of high energy particles, or it may be a faint source of these particles. We already have what seems to be the Milky Way galaxy on the far right-hand side. And we'll just, so audience knows, Milky Way. Okay. Allow me to pick up. On the far right, behind the additional baffle area, which would be a faint source. So what is this vertical line composed of? Is this gas? Small asteroids? They do not generate dark regions, so it is either a field of small objects or a faint source of high energy particles. And our professor here pointed that out right here as well. So, Steve, we do have a little conundrum on our hand here, because
let me make one last point before we get off this picture that I remembered too. So if you look at those two balls at the end of the baffle unit there,
make no sense.
Yeah. So here's the. Okay, I just wanted to do a quick interruption of this long format program to remind everybody that by popular demand, the WSO founding member program, which we did earlier in the month, has been extended until September 1st. And we've been raising funds and been able to actually accelerate the building of our website, which actually is going to be a content explorer. We'll explain it more when we do the rollout. But anybody that wants to participate with us will be able to explode content out through the WSO network, and it will help WSO to get way broader coverage. And it's a pretty cool thing. And when we introduce it, I'll be sharing that with you. Obviously, we're doing the video analysis and production from all around the world. We're doing the research. Partnership with subscribers, etc. Our ham radio station is almost completed, our base station in Dallas. So we've been using the funds for me to make a living, and then also these projects. But what I wanted to get into a little bit about the WSO founding member program today is to say, just thank you to everybody that's been helping so far. But if you haven't joined yet and you want to be a part of the WSO founding member program, if you buy a shirt from our online Pogo store, or if you donate before September 1st, any amount, you're going to be given, some special content. Like, for example, today's show really doesn't belong on YouTube, guys. This is a 2-hour format show, or it could even be a 3-hour show. And we're trying to crunch it down to like an hour to try to, explain some pretty complex things. So one of the things that the website's going to have is a premium area where you'll be able to listen to conversations like this every time that we have a brainstorming session and we record it and things like that. We're going to have that premium content available to our founding members that will not be on YouTube. Again, YouTube's a place where you should do a video for 15 minutes, or 20 minutes so people can get an idea. It's never good to have longer than 15-minute videos, in my opinion, but there's a lot of information out there. That's why mine are longer right now. The other thing that's going to be in that premium area too is going to be the member exchange area. We're going to evolve from that group structure, which is rife with problems and politics and weird church stuff, to just an open exchange where people can find people of like mind, not only from a like-mindedness perspective from the Nibiru perspective, but also from their own religious beliefs perspective. Find people that match up with their religious or kind of their own conscience, if you will. And that was one of the early problems that we had with the groups, by the way. So anyway, I just wanted to remind you that you can get a shirt, or you can donate before September 1st and be a founding member, have access to this website information and technology. And that's what's going to be the premium, kind of offer that we're going to keep growing that and adding value to that over time. And again, today is an example of a show that really should have been, that would have been a great format for the web channel premium content. And that's where this stuff's going to eventually go. But right now, all I got is YouTube. So enjoy the rest of the show, you guys. That black area in the back is what we see when, okay, like, so take example Venus there. Venus is dark on the side that's away from the sun and light on the side that's with the sun. Now, that's not visible light. That's high energy electrons and protons bouncing off of Venus, okay?
Yes, that is correct.
From the sun. Well, if the dark side is facing Venus on that baffle thing, where's the light coming from on the right side?
It's producing a conundrum.
It is, because that indicates that there would have to be something of a star level.
Bingo. And that is what we are hypothesizing. This is our theory. This was purposely put. It doesn't make sense, Steve. Come on. You're spending how many millions? What is this? I think almost $1 billion to set this satellite out there, wherever it is on the southern ecliptical plane.
Yeah, and here's the thing: if somebody, like, okay, you bring an observation like this to me, right? And I'm an honest broker, right? I'm trying to learn the truth, and you bring this to me. The first thing, if I'm an honest broker, the first thing out of my mouth isn't going to be, "Oh, that's just ridiculous," right?
Yeah.
First thing out of my mouth is, "Show me more, Wayne. What are you thinking? Why do you think this?" You know, when you see people honestly questioning that like that, those are truth seekers. When you see a person that just out of hand dismisses, you've got to suspect two things: cognitive dissonance, number one, or number two, shill troll. I'm getting to that point where, Wayne, I don't think there's a third category.
Yeah. So here is all right, I'm not going to call it the smoking gun. It's another piece to this jigsaw.
Right.
This picture makes no sense because it should be like that picture.
A baffle would just be dark.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They can't, and I don't think they have, listen, here is something I'll say to our Navy. Guys, I don't think you've been hiding anything.
I don't think so either. I think they're trying to let us know, and I honestly think that there are people within the government, within these different organizations that are desperately trying to get us messages.
And here's my metaphor to this. It's like buying an iPad. They don't give you a damn instruction book. You know?
I know, right?
You gotta learn it out on your own. You what?
Yeah.
And here's the part. All right, we have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, we're dealing with high charged particles. Something is causing this light. Think about it as radiation.
It's visible light too, Wayne. That's the thing. It's faintly visible.
That is the point. Now, have they gone back in here and obfuscated this? I don't know. It's not my job. I don't care.
See, that's what. See the misdirection though. Instead of it being about what could be behind the baffle or is this a baffle, again, I'm just trying to educate people on how misdirection works, right? So misdirection wants to get you thinking about, well, are they lying if they are covering it up or not? Well, that's not what we didn't care if they were covering it up or not because we saw uncovered photos of it, so we knew they were covering it up.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Did common sense complete? See, that's one of the things about this end time that's pissing me off, Wayne, is common sense has gone out the freaking window.
I tell you, it's the rarest commodity on planet Earth.
No, man. Listen, and listen. Anybody who's been researching this stuff for more than 5 years, listen. If you're not, if you're not crazy, I give you credit, right? Because they do everything to drive us crazy.
Yeah.
And we've been able to maintain sanity only because we've only had a short tenure in doing this, I believe. I believe that if you gave me another 5 years, I'd be just as crazy as the rest of them. And the reason I'm saying this is because there's this thing that gets bred in this field more than anything else. And I'm going to bring it up today, Wayne. It's called the Messiah complex.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, Wayne and I do not have the Messiah complex. I don't feel responsible for any of your souls. I don't feel responsible for anything other than to transmit the message. That's all I'm supposed to do, okay? And then help organize. That's it. Now, am I the savior of the world? Hell no! I'm just a stupid dude from Wisconsin. And if that's not what your researchers are saying, and they have this Messiah complex, like I have this special truth, or I'm going to lead you into a special path, or God's giving me some special message, tell them to, I'm sorry, I almost swore, tell them to blow off. I'm serious. You don't need another Messiah. We've got enough of those already.
I call it the wackadoodle syndrome.
But what the common denominator is, they get this truth and they all of a sudden think that they're the Messiah.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm
Well,
not the only one that knows this stuff. There are billions, not billions, but I believe hundreds of thousands of people that know what we know. We just had the fortuitous situation, Wayne, where our videos took off. That's it. That's the only difference between me and those other researchers. That's it. Sorry to interrupt you, dude.
you may want to go back. Has the recorded stopped?
No, the recording continues.
Okay. Okay, good.
I just wanted to remake the point. I said this phenomenon breeds the Messiah complex more than anything I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's just a side effect. But let's get back to the science here.
Okay. So, did you have anything else you wanted to share on
Well,
this?
I just want to let the folks know is that people, I believe, we are seeing something here that none of us want to admit to. Because the bottom line is this, Steve. I believe that they're hiding a star back here. I believe that this is artificial intelligence. I believe that this, because I didn't know what this was, didn't know how to interpret it. I mean, again, I didn't get the manual. Now that I know what this is, this apparently appears to be a debris field. It certainly has the signature of one. And I think now the questions need to become not attacks, but let's find out what's really going on here. Because if this is artificial in nature, then again, as I said in my video last night, God bless you, Carl Sagan. That's all I can say, because, if it hadn't been for Carl Sagan and his theories back in his day, which he was considered to be a real whack job, but you know what? He persevered through. I would love to have someone like a Sagan, a Hawkins, to come in here and take a look at this and really give us.
Okay, well, a couple things to kind of wrap up my time with you here, Wayne. I wanted to remind everybody of the electronic spectrum, electromagnetic spectrum.
Good.
And the reason for this, because I'm going to go back into this SDO thing again here for just a second. And what we're looking at with SDO, and I want you to see this on the chart. So this goes kind of back to what you were talking about. See how tiny the visible range is where humans can see with their eyeballs?
Excellent.
See that, guys? Out of all the electromagnetic frequencies that we observe, the visible light is a teeny part of that. So this is a continuum of electromagnetic waves from very, very low frequency, like you would see the Navy using for communications back in the day, all the way up to gamma rays, which are the most radioactive and destructive radioactivity waves, okay? Now, they call that ionizing radiation because that actually means that it's ionizing, it has the potential to ionize materials in front of it, which is just a fancy way to say it makes them radioactive.
Yeah.
Anywho, the point that I'm trying to make is right above the visible spectrum, you'll see near ultraviolet and extreme ultraviolet light. Then you go to soft X-rays, hard X-rays, and gamma rays. So the stuff that we're looking at through this SDO camera is way up here, guys. High energy, high energy. So when we say we're looking at an eclipse, quote unquote, of the sun, we're not talking about the eclipse in the visible band. We're talking about an eclipse in the radio, at the higher radioactivity bands, the higher energy particles. So the thing that when you're looking at SDO is that they variabilize, and let's just take a look at one of the pictures here. And so we're actually going to talk a little bit about this before I let you go, Wayne, because I want to get your thoughts on this too. But basically, we're looking at this at the sun over the last couple of days. And if you saw our video from earlier in the week, you saw that we caught the phenomenon of the sun losing its light or losing its ability to transmit to the SDO satellite at these very high X-rays, okay? Yes. So right now what we're doing, Wayne, just so everybody knows, is we're trying to research what material, can we actually discern the materials that this might be penetrating based on its porousness at these different angstroms. I know this is all sciencey stuff, right? The big stuff, though, that I wanted to get across, guys, was that we actually did a table from August 20th to August 30th, okay? And, well, we went through and went back, and what we found out, and this is what I think is shocking information here, Wayne, not only are these X-band eclipses happening every day, the amount of time that they happen is increasing each day.
Yes.
And there's only one way to interpret that. Something that was far away is getting closer to the satellite.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no other way to look at it.
And I think people need to understand, again, the science here. We're looking at a particular spectrum of light, but also we're looking through an interpretation of a radiation density.
Right. So when we say the sun went dark, that's not completely accurate, guys, because what's really happening, and let's go back to that this first. And the only thing I don't like about Zoom is I can't look at the menu very easy. But again, this thing is looking at stuff that's way out of the band of human sight. Okay? So what I want to make sure you understand is it's going dark in these bands. It's not going dark in the visible band.
Thank you. There you go, Steve. And Steve, it's much akin to like if you and I went out, or if you go out to the beach and you're not wearing any kind of visible sunscreen, that radiation is cooking you. You can't see it. Oh my goodness. I knew you were going to bring this up.
I couldn't let you go until we talked about it.
Yeah, yeah. This is disturbing. Now I'll let you do the intro on here and let's talk about this because it's all relevant to what's going on.
Correct. So what we're showing here, guys, science, which is an observation and a data table. That's what scientists do. And we see if we can see any patterns or trends. Well, we're seeing, again, the conclusion of WSO is that what something is getting closer to us that's also orbiting the sun in a predictable fashion. Scary stuff, right? So what's going to happen if I get in proximity to another object, Wayne?
Well, according to the electric universe theory, when two celestial objects of that happens, you're going to get two reactions. Number one, you're going to get electrical reaction, but you're going to get plasma, a discharge.
A discharge, right. What does this scene remind you of here, Wayne?
Well, number one, it's they said it was lightning, and they're saying that it traveled through the ground and happened to kill 300 reindeer. No, you know, Steve, I'm just going to give you my theory. I think what we had was electrical discharge in nature, but it was much more intense than just electricity. I think it was caused by a plasma reaction.
It is. And remember, everybody, we don't want to confuse you because lightning that you see in the sky is plasma.
Yes, it is, yeah, absolutely.
Okay? So what we see here is a much greater lightning, if you will, or plasma charge that's normal on the Earth.
Who did I hear say yesterday that if this was a lightning bolt, it would have to have been the lightning bolt of all lightning bolts? and I laugh because it's a nervous laugh, because I don't think our minds are fully comprehending, Steve, that look at the size and the distance of the death.
And again, yes, we have seen lightning strikes, and like, for example, when you're in sports in America with your kids and stuff like that, we take lightning very seriously. So if there's a baseball, football game, or soccer game going on, we're all very mindful of the proximity of a lightning storm. We know that if it gets any closer than a mile away, we all have to dive for cover, because even normal lightning can affect you on the ground, like several people on the ground, okay? But to have 300 wild reindeer averaging probably 500 pounds each, this is not normal, guys. So again, what we're trying to say is that it's the frog in the water, Wayne. It's like if I would have shown you all this stuff 1 year ago, you would have been out buying rice and beans, baby.
Say it ain't so,
But it's true. And what I'm saying is because we're immersed and we've become immersed in this information, each of these little data points on themselves are, hey, that's interesting. Hey, that's interesting. Hey, that's interesting. But what's happening now that's getting me a little bit concerned, Wayne, is that it seems like we're getting to a type of critical mass right now, a tipping point, okay,
Yeah.
where it's going to be undeniable that this system is close to us. And I wanted to get your thoughts before I let you go today, Wayne. What have you been seeing in the news and through secondhand sources and different things about the news of what is going on in the world right now?
Well, I think there is a lot of troubling signs. Number one, I'm disturbed. I thought initially, the beginning of mid-July through August, that this was the normal training cycle for our reservists. But we're just seeing a whole lot of military activity. We're seeing strange things in our government. The weather is just bizarre. I mean, you cannot help but think of what's happening over an area that I've told you many, many times, Steve, is that whole Indian Ocean, Asia loop down in there. Something terribly is going on with our Earth. I looked at the jet stream this morning. Steve, something is amiss, and Ben Davidson brought this out today, and I think it needs to be brought out to everybody. Folks, there is a coronal hole coming around that boggles my mind, Steve, as to how big this thing is.
Is this the one you're talking about, Wayne?
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. And you know, if you could see the back side of the sun, this thing covers the whole complete northern regions of our star.
What did Ben say was the concern? What's the big concern with a coronal hole like this right now?
Well, when this stream hits us in about 4 or 5 days, and you see over there on the left, we've got, and pull the Earth down, Steve, your scale. No, your scale down to where we're seeing the coronal hole there. Bring it down to that loop. Folks, the sunspot coming around is going to probably be about 10, maybe 20 Earths in size. It's a monster. So it looks like we could have a convergence of an open stream, raw energy coming from our sun, and then to top it off, we could have potentially, for the first time in a long time, potentially X-class flares potential here in the next 10 to 12 days.
Yep. And again, X-class flares, remember the electromagnetic spectrum, everybody? The higher that the energy particles go up on the electromagnetic spectrum, one of the high ranges of that is called an X-flare. That means lots of energy, lots of gamma radiation, all that kind of stuff, right?
Steve, I'm gonna break something here for your people. Folks, if you don't think that the sun, electric magnetic storms are important, let me tell you how the Federal Reserve looks at geomagnetic storms. They actually have a predictive model, Steve, that actually can measure the amount of electric magnetic intensity that hits the Earth. Because you know what happens, Steve? Oddly enough, they've noticed a pattern that when we're bombarded with high particles, particularly of strong electric magnetic nature, Steve, it impacts us psychologically, emotionally. And investors are more likely to interpret data negatively and attribute it to other non-relevant economic factors and make unwise judgment decisions in their investments.
In other words, they are vulnerable to being manipulated.
Yes, folks, the government knows this. So listen, folks, we're just now beginning to understand the science. Each one of us generate 5.8 volts. You and I, Steve, are an electromagnetic field. We're connected. And folks, it's all connected. So Steve, getting back to that coronal hole, folks, that sucker is big.
Yeah. And then additionally disturbing is the still we're working on this theory. We still don't know if we're seeing an eclipse, going back to this data table here. We still don't know if we're seeing a blockage or some type of an eclipse. Again, it's not in the visible spectrum. Otherwise, we would all see it on the Earth, right? Again, I got to go back to the table here. I'm trying to find here. What happened to my table?
Well, you know what I was thinking? So radiation, light, as you showed on your chart there, light is broad, it's deep, and it's diverse, correct?
That is correct.
So light is merely the representation of protons, right? They're photons.
It's electromagnetism.
Yeah. So if we could see, okay, all right, I just thought about this. Steve, if you have a patient who has, let's say, hardening of the arteries, we all have it, but it's something that we don't see. It doesn't affect us in the overall period. And I think what we're seeing here, Steve, is the reduction of energy output. And I think that we're seeing it in this particular X-ray spectrum, and that's what we're recording.
It could be one of two things, actually. Either it's an object or something obfuscating it that's getting closer to the camera and closer to the Earth, or if the sun is discharging at these high energy bands, right? It could be that the amount of time it's discharging is increasing.
Well, and listen, and we'll put this to our professor, but look at that. Oh, wow. So this is very, very compelling, sir. Now, someone can say, well, it's the camera. No, listen, we don't.
Nobody's saying anything about the camera on this stuff. What we're getting is that people are trying to tell me that this is the Earth. And guys, I'm going to tell you once and for all, it's not the Earth, and I can prove it. We proved it with our table. Our table shows clearly that this is getting greater in the amount of occlusion at the. I keep saying the wrong words. My bad, Wayne. What I really mean to say is phenomenon, because we don't know if it's an occlusion of the spectrum at these levels or if it is a drainage of the energy of the sun at these energy levels. We don't know that. We don't know yet. Our physicists are telling us that they think it's an energy drain.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. I think that's what we're seeing. And so what I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to draw a connection point. All right. Is there another, I'm just going to throw this out. Is there another proton star, another neutron star that's out there? Is a red dwarf capable of having that type of impact on another star? Something's going on with our sun, Steve. This is not the Earth, folks.
And again, I want to remind everybody that we're not looking at visible light again. We are looking at high energy X-ray gamma radiation. At those high energy bands, the sun is getting dark for a period of time that's increasing every day. That's the story.
So let's throw in some eschatology here. Are we seeing the onset of the 3 days of darkness?
And are we also seeing from our previous studies with the artificial sun now finding the rationale for the artificial sun?
By the way, you know my position on this, and I happen to have a detailed, good paper on that. That's exactly what I think they've been doing. They've had decades to perfect it. I think that they've had plenty of time to experiment with it. Listen, we may be, Johnny come lately to the party. I mean, we weren't even invited to the party.
Right.
So
we're not invited to the party.
We're still not invited to the party. But Steve, I believe that WSO has uncovered this phenomena, and I think it's all related.
Yeah, and then again, this is the one that got me yesterday, Wayne. I wanted to show you this one. This is clearly a huge. This is getting bigger every day.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, brother, it's getting big. And this was at not at the right time, UTC time, because we were in the 1717 range, so it was well beyond any time that the sun was diminished at those high
Yeah.
energy bands. But just look at the size of that thing, man.
Well, you know, Steve, I've been taking pictures of the sun, and you know, for a long, long time. And I'm telling you, I'm looking at our sun right now, and it looks bigger. It does.
Well,
Now,
yeah, go ahead.
no, you know, listen, I know it's a crackpot thing to say, you know, but I've been doing this for years, and it looks bigger. That's all I can say.
You guys are telling me that this black dot in the middle, again, we don't talk about this black dot anymore, but did you see that video that I had from that one person out west that actually showed this spinning?
That just,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a, yeah, I did. You know, at this point, Steve, nothing really surprises me anymore. Look at that.
So I'm just saying,
I
guys.
was told that's the camera that's doing that. And again, my camera doesn't do that. Does yours?
Well, it's just there's so many unusual things about this black dot, right? I mean, it shows up as a square sometimes.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
something's reverse lit here. That I'm just saying. I'll have videos on it this week more with the subscriber photos. But I just wanted to pull this one up because one of the things that's disconcerting to me about this is how these things are getting bigger every day.
Yeah.
When we first started seeing this, it was only filling up a tiny portion of the screen. Now it's almost, a quarter of the screen size.
Well, and I'm assuming that's still our sun, right?
The sun, but what's behind it?
Well, I think that's been the whole issue.
Right. I mean, well, again, now, so if we're correct and the star is entering into our part of the galaxy or whatever, then it would stand to reason that it would have planets. Okay?
Yes, it would. It would.
And the Quran tells us, I think we were looking at some stuff in the Quran the other day, and you said that the Quran is predicting 5 planets, something like that, right? What did the Quran predict?
Listen, we're not taking any position here. I'm on a quest for knowledge in here, but I'll tell you what, the Quran gives a better explanation of this system than any other book I know of.
So again, there we go again. And remember, everybody in the world that's listening to this, we're from the Christian, quote unquote, evangelical Christian United States, right?
Yep.
And guys, I'm going to come at you again. Just because the media tells you that Muslims are bad does not mean Muslims are bad.
We
have Islamic fundamentalists that have been usurped and are being manipulated by world governments for political ends right now. That's what's happening.
They are the same children of Abraham as you and I are.
That's right. And if you think for 1 second that God, and you're standing before God, and you have a Muslim man or woman that's had a true heart for the true loving God and has known God for years, and you're standing there with your Christian theology that you think you're one tittle better than that other person, then you're in what's called exceptionalism. There's nothing exceptional about you, my friend. You are a human being just like me, and just like Wayne, and just like Muhammad. Okay? We all make mistakes. We're all manipulated. We all have to deal with good and dark forces. Okay? Now the question is, which ones are we going to follow? That's a pretty good way to end it.
I think that is. But Steve, everyone needs to stay diligent, brother. That's the only thing I'm going to say.
And don't hate each other. That's what I'm saying. Don't hate anybody. Stop hating each other for a minute.
There's no need for it. There really isn't. And listen, I don't talk much on this, Steve, because, I keep my thoughts pretty private. But I see the comments that sometimes I see people that they must be very miserable because they really tried to spread their misery to others. But listen, I still believe love is the greatest force and truth will prevail. And just because the person next to me may have a different theology, a different opinion, or a different view does not make him my enemy. It makes him the same family I am, and that is the family of mankind.
That's where we got to start coming, man. We just got to keep pushing to that idea. And again, we're not talking about the weird ecumenicalism that's trying to be spread in the New World Religion and New World Order. That's not what I'm talking about.
Nope.
I'm talking about humanity. I'm talking about true love and true compassion. I'm talking about being empathetic towards each other. I'm talking about understanding that a person that grew up in Palestine is going to have a different belief structure than you do if you were growing up in Cincinnati. I'm telling you guys, we have to stop this exceptionalism. We have to stop it.
Spot on, brother.
God bless you, man.
God bless.